this is Julie Hogue with the Vegetarians and Meat Lovers Split Table Recipes podcast. Again, my name is Julie Hogue. I am a podcaster, obviously, and I'm an author. I write YA contemporary romance, and I make cookbooks, and I'm a blogger. So these are things I do, and if you're here, you're interested in this recipe. Now, I love this recipe, and I always hear suspicions when people are like, yeah, right, you don't have to cook the noodles first. Well, this recipe, you actually don't. So this is a no-cook noodle crockpot mac and cheese recipe. And I've heard other people say, they're like, oh, I tried one, it didn't work. This one actually works. And I love it because, like, for instance, in the summer when I'm super busy and we have a pool. So like yesterday afternoon, it was like super hot here in Minnesota. I mean, like we're talking in the 90s. And we all wanted to go sit in the pool, right? Well, it's kind of hard to make dinner and sit in the pool at the same time, right? Unless you got double personality, split personality, magical powers to split yourself in two. I do not. So I wanted to sit in the pool with my family. And so I'm like, what can I make for dinner? And this was one of the meals I planned for the week. And it was the crockpot mac and cheese. And then I was going to throw a couple of hams in there and just like some corn. And I had some cut up cantaloupe already. So it was like a really super easy meal to put together. And this recipe I really like because it doesn't take much time to prep it. And you pop it in your crock pot and then you let it sit. And it has a little bit of wiggle room. There's something you're supposed to do after an hour in, but I was in the pool for a little bit longer, so I didn't follow it exactly. I have followed it exactly, and this time I didn't, and it still worked out just fine. So how do you make this? I usually make this in my little crock pot, and I did not look at the size of it. I forgot to look that up. But I have like a big one, and then I have a smaller one, and this is in the smaller one. It's still kind of an oval shape, but it's not tiny. I would say maybe, you can have those little tiny crock pots. This is probably more like a mid-size one. So what do you need? Okay, so you're going to need about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of coconut oil. That's to grease your crock pot. I don't know. It seems like a little bit better for me than when I use the spray. Maybe it's my crock pot. I think it's getting old. I think the finish is coming off of it. But anyway, this worked pretty good, and it didn't stick to the sides too much. So I did the 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of coconut oil, and I just spread it with my fingers all over it on the inside of course, and the inside where the food's going to sit. And then you want 1 pound of uncooked, yes, baby, uncooked elbow pasta. You can pick a different shape if you really want to. 2.5 cups skim milk, 12 ounces evaporated milk, 3 cups shredded cheddar and jack cheese, 2 cups chopped up American cheese slices. You could do 1.5, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. Depends on how cheesy you want it. I just explained it now. I've done it both ways. If you want it extra cheesy, use the 2 cups. I use the American cheese slices, not the individual wrapped. There's one they're unwrapped. You could, any kind of American cheese should work. 1 teaspoon salt, 1/2 teaspoon black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, and 4 tablespoons of butter cut up into little cubes because you're going to dot that all over the top. Now, this is super easy, right? Like, these are really easy things. The shredded cheese is already shredded. The biggest thing that takes the longest is cutting up your American cheese. That's the longest thing of this entire recipe. It's beautiful. And it's really good. So, okay, you're going to take that uncooked pasta and you pour it in your empty crock pot insert, like that ceramic insert. And you're going to hear the blink, blink, blink. They're going to fall in there. They're hard, right? They're literally still uncooked. They're hard. You put them in there, you pour them in there. Then you're going to pour over the top of that your evaporated milk, skim milk. Then you're going to add your cheeses, all the cheeses, and salt, pepper, and the garlic powder. Stir. Very easy stir. You kind of want to get those noodles all like coated and like covered in like some kind of liquid. So then you're going to, when you're done stirring it, it's best if you can kind of smush it down a little bit. The more covered the noodles are, the better. It's okay if they're peeking through. That's how it was for me many, many times. It's all good. Just kind of a good idea to kind of get them wet initially. So when you stir them, they'll get wet. And if you can push them down a little bit, cool. Back of the spoon works great. And then you dot with butter, like little cubes of butter. You chop that all up and just dot the whole entire surface with the butter. And you cook it on low for 1 hour. You go, bye-bye. You can go do something fun with your family, for yourself. Hey, take your feet and stick them up on your footrest and read a book. Do whatever you want because it cooks just for an hour. And this is the part where I let it go longer. I didn't want to get out of the pool, right? So it was really nice. It was so pleasant. It was lovely. And so I let it go an hour and a half before I did the stirring. So the real recipe that works the best is you stir it after an hour and then you let it cook for another hour again. 2 hours total cooking time. Well, this time, like yesterday, like I'm saying, I let it go an hour and a half before I stirred it. It was all good. So it's done in about 2 hours. If you need it to sit in there a little bit longer, 2:15 or 2:30 at the absolute most. I wouldn't leave it in there on low for much longer. Maybe, make it go to that keep warm phase just so it doesn't get dried out and too sticky and stuff like that. You want it to still be a little bit creamy. And if you do leave it in there too long and it does get like that, just add some more milk and stir it up, baby. It's no big deal. It's so easy to fix. And then you're ready to eat it. That's it. 2 hours on low, 1 hour. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than this, right? And it's really good. And I've messed around with different cheeses. The sharp cheddar cheese works really good too. And, there are so many different types of American cheese you could try. And it does change the flavor a little bit when you change those cheeses up. So play with it. See what you like the best. This one I think is really good. I really like how the Jack cheeses help it melt, and the American cheese really just helps it melt and be creamy. A tip for warming this up, add a little bit more milk. That's all you really have to do. Before you're going to heat it, I would say it's best heated in a pot on stovetop with a little bit of extra milk. Stir that up. Don't add too much milk, but just enough to make it more creamy and not so dry again. And then the other way you can do it is in the microwave. Same thing, add a little bit of milk. Putting it in the oven, I don't know. I'm not as big a fan as that. It kind of dries it out a little bit. There are some additions you can do for people who want to eat meat. Take those, those bacon crumbles that you have either left over from a breakfast or some you put on a salad or something you buy, like the bacon bits or whatever, and people want meat, sprinkle that on top. We did ham on the side, and that works great too. These are people who want to have meat with their mac and cheese. But this is a great recipe for summertime or any time of the year, really. Comfort food, fall and winter, right? Mac and cheese. But this one is just so easy, and I love that you don't have to cook the noodles first. And you get a little nervous when you're doing that halfway stir and they're kind of still hard. You're like, is this really going to work? It does. Every time I've done this recipe, and I've done it multiple times, the noodles cook and they get soft and it works just fine. So I will say the longer you cook it, like I said, it can start to get dried out. The cheese might start to curdle or thicken too much. So, I wouldn't go beyond the 215, maybe 220, 230 absolute max. I would do it I would take it off of the heat before that. At the 2 hour mark, I really would move it to keep warm. As long as those noodles are cooked, all crock pots are probably different. You might have a weaker crock pot. Just make sure those noodles are cooked, and then you should be good to go, right? So, it's so easy. It's so easy. What a great way to have, you can get some family time, or you're busy or doing other things. And this is just basically cooking itself for you, which is always so great about crock pots and why everybody loves to use them. And this is a great adjunct for any meal, really. I mean, think of how great it is too in the fall and the winter. That comfort food of mac and cheese. Another thing I like to do with this is, have broccoli on the side, or, have steamed broccoli, and people who like me, who really actually like broccoli, could stir that in. So another fun way I like to spice up mac and cheese is do those toppings or those added stir-ins, like people who want the meats, the bacon bits. People who like broccoli, you can stir in broccoli, or peas. It sounds really bizarre, but I really like green peas with mac and cheese. And I actually will even stir it together and eat them as one dish. So there's so many different things you could try. You could stir in vegetables, corn, peppers. Make sure they're cooked, of course, so they're soft. You don't want to be crunching into stuff. But I really like the peas and the broccoli. You can have it on the side too, so people maybe don't want to mix it in with their mac and cheese. They can do that, but it's super easy, right? This is a super easy recipe, and it's really good. It is. We just had some for leftover today, and it's just as good the next day. Again, if it seems a little dry, I really do recommend adding a little bit of milk when you're going to warm it up for as a leftover, whether it's microwave or in the pot. And it works really well. Crazy thing is our microwave is out right now. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. I don't know how people live without a microwave. I've come to rely on it so much for cooking and for leftovers. Like, we're a big leftover family. And even when we have leftover food, I never throw it away. I hate to waste. So I'll freeze it. Like, I just made if you ever tried my cheeseburger casserole, which is also the adjunct to that is a chickpea casserole. So it's like I make the cheeseburger casserole for the rest of my family, and I make the chickpea one for myself, all in one recipe. It's one of my hybrid recipes. I just froze those. There were two chickpea pieces left and 2 beef pieces left. I froze them because we're so busy. And, and I really believe in teaching your kids to eat leftovers, because it's such a cost saving. Who wants to throw away that food? And who wants to waste, honestly? So we encourage our kids, and they really do eat leftovers quite well. I've talked to some people, some friends whose kids do not eat leftovers, or they themselves don't eat leftovers. And I'm like, what? How can you not? It's so such a waste to throw it away. And I love when I can, for lunch, pull it out of the freezer the night before and be like, I have this homemade good meal. So I bought a bunch of those, what are they called? They're like Tupperwares, but they're meant for individual meals. And so they can go in the dishwasher, they can go in the freezer, and then they each have their individual lid. So whenever I have leftovers, I'll do that. Now, I don't think there's going to be any leftovers for the mac and cheese. There's not a whole lot left because we ate quite a bit of it. And my youngest son had 2 helpings of it. He just got braces on. His teeth are really hurting him. It's really sad. I hate that. But he has to have 2 teeth pulled down because they're stuck up in his gums. What a tragic thing. But his mouth hurts. So mac and cheese was actually really perfect. And I didn't even plan that. I wish I had. That was a great idea of mine, because it's a soft food to eat when you just get your braces, right? And he had 2 full helpings. He had a sandwich earlier in the day when his teeth were hurting, and he really had a hard time eating it. And I had forgotten that with my older 2 when they had braces, that sometimes a sandwich can be kind of hard to eat with braces. And so he just chowed down on this mac and cheese, and he had 2 big bowls of it. And I'm like, yeah, score. It's hard, right? It's, I told him braces are a short time, and it's better to do it when you're a kid. Well, anyway, I hope you have an amazing day. And it's a super hot day again in Minnesota. I think we're going to hit the 90s again. Have to go in the pool again. But tonight I do not have an easy, fast meal. I'm probably going to do my cheesy potatoes. I'm thinking 2 cheesy things 2 days in a row. Is that a bad idea? But my husband went fishing with his dad up north, and they got a bunch of walleye. So he wanted to cook the walleye tonight. So he's going to get it all breaded up, the walleye, and he's going to fry it, and they're going to enjoy it. And of course, since I'm a vegetarian, I have to figure out what I'm going to have. So I'm thinking the cheesy potatoes, and I got to figure out the rest yet. But I do have some black bean burgers in the freezers. I keep on a backup if I need to add something to my meal, because I'm not going to eat the fish. So anyways, those are some tips of what I do, how I make things work for me. Those are great because you can just pull it out and you can heat it up in the oven. You can heat it up in the microwave, and I can get a hot, warm sandwich type of thing for myself while they're eating fish. So sometimes it's just a simple replacement of the meat for me when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to make, being the vegetarian. That kind of thing works really well. So, if you keep those in your freezer, a lot of those vegetarian or vegan burgers are frozen. And so it's such an easy thing to grab and add to your meal. And so then if you're not eating the meat portion of the meal, you have something. Other thing I like to do is there's a brand that I get from Cub Foods, which is a cooked egg patty. And then I can also make myself an egg sandwich or frozen egg omelets. Sometimes I like these little short, quick ones that I can add in place of the meat for myself because I'm making the rest of the meal and all these other sides. Well, then I want something easy for myself for my protein portion. So those are some tricks I do. Or grab a handful of nuts, some cheese, cottage cheese. There's so many options. Well, thank you so much for listening to this, and I do hope you enjoy this crockpot no-cook noodle mac and cheese recipe. Tell me about it if you like it. I hope you do. I absolutely love it, and it's easy, it's quick, easy prep, super good. All the things you want, right? Thanks for listening, and you have an amazing day. Bye-bye now.